Thank you, everyone, for coming along to the Storyteller Tips panel with Ben
Storyteller
Berg.
Tips?
Storyteller Tips.
What kind of panel is this, Sam?
Let's wrap it up there. Let's wrap it up. No, Storyteller Tips with Ben and Mara Joy. I assume pretty much everyone in the room knows you both, but would you like to just do a very quick intro of yourselves and how you got into the storytelling aspect of Clocktower?
Hello, my name is Ben. I am the community manager and YouTube and Twitch guy for the Pandemonium Institute, although most of you probably know me better as the guy that runs the game on No Rules Bod. I got into Blood on the Clocktower because I went to the UK Games Expo in 2018 and I loved social deduction games and they were there showing it off and I kept playing it all weekend. And by the end of the weekend, they agreed to send me a promo copy of the game, and I became obsessed with it. And here I am, all these years later, still obsessed with it. A little bit older, bigger storyteller tits now than I did back then.
Hi, I'm Marjoy. Again, you probably know me from No Rose Bard, but also I play Blood On The Clocktower basically everywhere online. You can't stop me. You simply don't stop me. I need this. Now, I got into Blood On The Clocktower in about 2016, 2017. I played a promo copy of the game, a sort of prototype copy that Reggie from the Pandemonium Institute had. Reggie was an improv student of mine. That's how that happened, and I loved it. And I went, I will never play another social deduction game. Reggie then promptly moved away, so I could not play anymore. But I kept up with her, and then in 2020, just at the beginning of lockdown, Reggie posted about, I'm going to be playing Blood On The Clocktower live on Twitch, and I went, what? That was one of the early games that was played on, I believe, Roll20.
Oh wow!
With some MS Paint stuff. It was ropey, guys. It was ropey. And then as soon as the sort of free app became available back then, I was like, I need to play this. And I went, oh wait, I'm the only person I know who knows this game. So I started running a lot of games. I storytold a lot of games. Sam was in many of those games.
Yeah, you introduced me to Blood On The Clocktower.
Yeah. And I spent, I don't know if you remember that year. There wasn't much to do. So I ran a lot of Blood On The Clocktower, and I still do. I also run in-person games in Edinburgh, and that's my favourite thing to do. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't know you were part of that original Edinburgh group. That means you've been playing longer than me.
I have, yeah.
You're probably the most experienced player in this whole building, actually, or in terms of length.
Except for that 4 years where I didn't play.
Lovely stuff. So I think this is going to be a relatively relaxed chat. Again, do use the link in the Discord to post any questions you've got. I've only got 2 so far, so otherwise we're going to be flying by the seat of our pants here. But to start off, what is your number 1 tip for starting out as a storyteller, for beginning storytelling?
Read the rule book. You would be shocked how many people don't. But no, I mean, to be honest, I could go over all the mechanical bollocks and all that kind of stuff, but the best tip I can give to a starting out storyteller is to just relax, take your time at night, enjoy yourself, make sure you're having fun. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but those are the things that really matter. Like, you're gonna make mistakes. I can go through all these rules and stuff with you. You're still gonna screw up. It's gonna happen. So don't worry about that. Worry about making it an enjoyable experience for everyone, because that's what is ultimately gonna make you and the people that are playing with you wanna come back, and by running it for them again and making more mistakes and learning and getting better, that's how you go from a beginner storyteller to an experienced storyteller. And you're only gonna get to do that if you're all having fun. So that is the most important thing. Enjoy yourself. And usually, if you're stood up in front of a bunch of people and you're having a good time, it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, they're going to have a good time too, because they're going to see you having a good time. And you know what? You know how it is. Like, we sit in a room and listen to a comedian or whatever because we want to sit in a room and see someone enjoying themselves on stage. Like, I've been to see bands where the musicians were incredible and they stared at their shoes all night. I've been to see bands where all 4 of them can barely play their instruments, but they're jumping around stage and having a wicked time. That's more fun than the virtuoso musicians, because we just like seeing people have fun. So if you have fun, your players will have fun, and you'll have the opportunity to improve.
Everything Ben just said. I would say as well. One other thing, it's okay if you don't like storytelling. I know people who've like, oh, I've tried so many times and it just doesn't work for me. That's cool, you tried, that's great, well done. But if you've realized you're not having fun, like Ben says, you simply don't have to. Somebody else will run the game. There's lots of people. Give them your copy and go, hey, run this for me. Give everyone a go, that'll be fun. Also, but everything that Ben said was completely correct. The most important thing I think he said was relax. And don't worry about making mistakes. And also, another very important thing, don't try and be too clever. You'll have watched probably a lot of Blood on the Clocktower where people doing some really advanced stuff, and you're like, oh, I'll make them this happen this. I'll make the recluse register as a demon and give the librarian a 0 in everyone's first game. Don't do that. That's not fun for anybody. It might be fun for you, but the main thing is you want it to be fun for you and your players. So if you're just in it to amuse yourself, it's a bit like when you're a GM for a D&D game and you've already scripted the entire game. The game won't go how you expect it to go. It simply won't. You will go, oh, this will be fun. I bet they'll claim this, and then they'll claim none of the bluffs, get executed immediately, and you'll have to re-rack, and that's fine. Just let go with the flow. Go with the flow. Yes, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Yeah, no, I actually made the storyteller GM DM comparison in the panel this morning as well. I think it's not 1-to-1, but there is a lot of overlap there. And I think with a lot of the questions that are coming up, I'm with because I've never story told, but I do DM a lot of D&D games. So I'm already like looking at this and going, oh yeah, no, 1-to-1, I can see how this applies to that as well. So we've got a couple of questions here, which I'm going to give you as a pair because they tie in nicely to each other. The first being, what is your biggest mistake you've made as a storyteller? And then the second one, which I think goes nicely with it, is how should you deal with realizing that you've made a mistake, e.g., accidentally giving the wrong information in the night, mixing up the night order. So feel free to answer those.
Please go first.
That's
a really hard question.
Answer those in whichever order you like.
Cool. The most immediate thing that comes to mind, the very first time I ran games in person after I got my copy of the game and running in person, very excited. We set it all up. A bunch of new people, meeting a bunch of new people who are now the sort of core group that I play with. I was very excited, set up a game, passed around the bag, went and collected all the tokens, sat down and looked at it, realized I hadn't put an M pin.
It's a pretty big mistake.
Pretty big mistake. Pretty big mistake. Have any of my players let me live it down? No. Every single game I run, they go, hey Mara, have you put the demon in the bag? I'm like, yes, I've put the demon in the bag. Everybody shut up. So that's probably the biggest mistake I've done. I've done others, like we've all made so many, like there's hundreds of mistakes. Like, oh, that cannibal ate a soldier, then died in the night. Oops, I think is James in the room? No, he's not good. Thank you, because he's still mad at me for that. And sometimes there will be a mistake so great that you simply have to end the game. That is possible. Sometimes, like you woke somebody up at the wrong time and showed them the information that they can't unknow, and the game is just done. Here's the biggest tip for this. That's fine. You can just start a game. The good thing about a game of Blood on the Clocktower ending is you get to play another game of Blood on the Clocktower. Hooray! It's honestly, if it is getting too stressful for you to figure out a fix that works, just say, hey, guys, my bad. This is Foobarred beyond, wait, hang on. I was going to say Foobarred beyond all recognition, which is, yeah.
PIN number.
Yeah, PIN number, yeah, ATM machine, yeah. And you just start again. Nobody will resent you for going, oh, hey, instead of carrying on with a game that is completely unsolvable because of mistakes I've made, let's just start again. That's always going to be much better than going, hey, account for the 6 mistakes I made. Go. It's like, we simply can't.
I'm going to apologise in advance because most of my answers are going to be about wishy-washy nonsense like feelings. Because I mean,
yes, that's also important.
Yeah. I mean,
that's also important.
I think the biggest mistake I ever made was incorrectly assuming or believing that this game is just inherently brilliant and everybody will think that eventually. And so in my in my early days of promoting Blood on the Clocktower, if someone had a bad time, I would take it really personally. I don't mean in the way that I would be like, why is this man making me feel this way? I mean, literally, I'd be like, what did I do wrong? I've really fucked up. Like, this game's brilliant and this guy doesn't think it is, so I must have made a big error. Like, there was a guy at HandyCon in, I think, 2018. I ran a 9-player Trouble Brewing. We've all seen this before. These 9 guys knew each other. They clearly had played lots of Werewolf. They all sat down and immediately just told each other what they were. The chef said, well, I'm the chef with a wand, so I know the 2 baddies are sat next to each other. And then the recluse went, well, I'm the recluse and I can register as evil. And the chef just went, we don't know anything, do we? And just threw his script across the room. Obviously, this guy hadn't realized at the time that he felt that that this information had invalidated him. He hadn't realized at the time that the existence of the recluse actually made him the most valuable player in the room because the imp was sat next to the recluse. And afterwards, this guy came up to me and was like, your game's fucking shit, mate. You've got no confidence in your mechanics because you could have just told me anything. And I'm like, well, I could have told you a 0 or a 1. That's quite far away from anything. But yeah. But this guy really, really hated it and had a really bad time to the point where the player that was the recluse came up to me afterwards and was like, I just want you to know, I thought you were really good. And it was like, you could tell this guy, he didn't think that, but he just felt really bad for me. And for the whole of the rest of that day, I was devastated. I was just down in the dumps. I was gutted. I was off my game. I just felt awful because I believed that I must have done something wrong because this game's awesome, right? And if they didn't think so, I must have fucked up. And Ed eventually had to come up to me and was like, Ben, that man is an idiot. Like, it's not your fault. But I think it's very easy when you're when you're a GM like we are. The thing you get out of it is having fun vicariously through the players, which is great because if 9 people are having a good time, you get 9 times the amount of fun you would do if you're playing. But if 9 people are having a bad time, it's awful because you're getting -9 funds. And so it's important, I found, to keep in mind, not everyone's going to like this game. If they don't like it, it's not because you're bad or the game's bad. It's not because you've done a bad job. It's just, it might seem obvious to you guys, but it didn't to me, that, it's just not going to be for everyone. That's the way it is. So if you have a bad game, if you run a game and your players don't like it, don't take it personally. Doesn't mean you're a bad storyteller. It just means it's not for them, or you just had a bit of bad luck.
Yeah.
It ties in nicely. There's a question that came up here, which is, how do you deal with a player who's upset with your decisions?
Just calmly explain to them why they're wrong. That's a really difficult one because the reason why a player might be upset with your decisions is very, very wide and varies heavily in validity. I've had players who were upset with my decisions, even though the decision I'd made objectively helped them. They just didn't realize it at the time. And then after the game, they would be like, why have you done this? And I'm like, well, actually, this helped you in all of these ways. And then they realize. But I think this is a really important piece of advice, actually, and I think everybody should hear this and should do this. Stamp that shit right out the moment it happens. Your group will go to shit if you allow the default response to a loss to be, what did the storyteller do that made me lose? Yeah. Because people, we've all seen it. We've seen League of Legends. We've seen Dota 2. We know what these communities are like when the default meta is, why didn't my support heal me? So if you allow your community to get to that point where the moment the game is over, the team that's losing are immediately looking for reasons why some external entity forced this horrible loss upon them, that will just take over and your group would become super toxic. So if you ever see somebody getting angry at a storyteller because they disagree with their decisions, please stand up for your storyteller. Because even if your storyteller did have a terrible time, even if they did make some abysmal decisions, ultimately, A, they're not doing it on purpose. They're trying their best. B, everyone has bad days. And C, they've just given up 2 hours of their time to provide you with a fun and entertaining experience. even if it was garbage, they still were trying to give you a fun and entertaining experience. So it's really important to basically say to those guys, hey, look, I realize you're upset. That's totally valid. You're feeling the feelings you're feeling, but please, this is not cool. Like, it's not okay to get mad at me for the decisions that I made because I was doing what I felt was best in the moment, and that's what matters.
Everything Ben said. But also, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. If somebody's upset at a decision you made, the thing I always find to do, because I've had it a couple of times, I sort of go, hey, I made a decision I thought would lead to the most fun game in the moment. I'm sorry that it didn't lead to a fun game for you. Would I change this in the future? Maybe. Do I take back what I did? No. I did it because I thought it would be fun. I didn't think that it would do it to personally screw you individually over. That's not a thing I did. I think it's also important to remind people, and I think that people do know this, this is a game. Yeah. And obviously, people want to win the game. The idea is, it's not fun if you're playing with people who don't care about winning, right? But it's also not fun if you play the game with people who care about winning exclusively, yes. Everyone should be trying to win, but failure to win is not a failure to play the game. Like, it's just like, oh, you should be like celebrating the other team's victory. They did great. Oh, they bamboozled you. That's fantastic. Oh, that interaction that happened. I didn't know that could happen that way. That's so interesting. It's so exciting. I understand though that it is a social game, and we do get caught up in these things. I've definitely been a bit salty after games, but what I do is I take a time, listen to other people talking, talk to other people and go, oh, I felt that was a bit rough today. And then people will either go, yeah, actually, yeah, Evil had it pretty rough that game. Hey, we can play again and hopefully it'll be better next time. Or if I am feeling kind of like really like furious, which I think has only happened like once in the entire time I've played Blood On The Clocktower. No, that's not true. I used to play on the unofficial a lot. Sorry, that's so mean. That was back before they had moderators. It was the Wild West. I would simply leave. I'd simply go and sit in a room somewhere that wasn't this, think my feelings and feel my feelings, and then come back when I'd calm down and go, hey. So if somebody comes up to you as a storyteller, you're a storyteller, and they're like, I'm really angry. My response would be, I appreciate this. I don't think we should talk about this while you're this angry. But go like have a drink, talk to other people, and then we'll come and chat to this and we'll figure it out. Because people don't listen to logic when they're upset or angry.
I just want to add as well. I realised my answer was very, somewhat confrontational. Yeah. I just want to point out. I'm obviously not suggesting that if your player comes up to you and is like, ooh, I think your decisions might have been a bit dodgy, and you're like, get out of my house, Satan. Like, I'm not saying you should do that. Like, obviously, 98% of the time when someone is critical of your decisions, it's in the form of constructive criticism, which is great, it's healthy, it's good for everyone involved. So obviously, and sometimes people get upset at the decisions you made and they're not being toxic about it. They're just a bit upset because they wanted A to happen and B happened, and it's a bit disappointing. Obviously, that's totally fine. I'm not suggesting you stamp that shit out. I'm suggesting, if people are consistently coming at you for the decisions that you've made, that's when you should, be addressing that.
Let's follow that up with a nice mechanical question.
Yes.
This is one that a couple of people have bumped up to the top of the question list. You can, in addition to asking questions, you can tap the I like button, and that will move it up to the top of my list.
I bet this is about the marionette neighbouring the recluse.
It's not, but it's what are your tips for thinking of savant information?
I mean, my answer to this is really boring. Think about the kind of information that you would like to receive in a game of Blood on the Clocktower and then give it to the savant. What kind of things do you do to solve the game as a good team? You look at the outside account. You think about why players have died. You think about who chose who or who chose what in the night. You think about what the positioning of things. Neighbors, who neighbors this? Where are the neighbors? What are they doing? What happened to that TV show? Is it still even on the TV? You looking at me confused?
I was moved to Freevee and now has been cancelled.
Everybody has good neighbors. Are you okay?
Never heard of the
Oh, you're American. That's why. Yeah, it was a terrible Australian soap opera. I mean, it might have been good. I don't know. It seemed terrible to me at the time. But yeah, this is the kind of information that you. This is getting really derailed. This is the kind of information that you want to receive as a good player. This is the kind of information that you seek to share with one another in order to solve the game. And that's the kind of information that you want to be giving to a savant. And if you really can't figure that out, somebody made a web app that generates it for you. So just go there.
I will add, if in doubt, keep it real simple. Like, instead of being like, the third person that voted on the nomination yesterday was evil. Like, what? Nobody knows what that means, but you can just say, hey, one of your neighbors is evil. Full stop. And once you get more experience with it, you can start being clever. But don't be too clever. I've fallen for that many times where I've went, haha, this is fun. And then I've sat down and looked back over the information I gave and went, that was clever, but it wasn't helpful. There's no way to solve what I just said. It was very smart, but only if you've seen the Grim. You want it to be, like a lot of these roles, if good or in a good position, you can give weaker information. You can be like, yeah, he is somebody you can trust. Don't worry about it. If good or being stomped, start going, hey, maybe this person's the demon. I don't know. Maybe this. It's one of the roles.
Maybe this person's the demon. I don't know.
Well, that's how the game works.
Maybe this person's the demon, or I don't know.
I mean, in the realms of a savant, that would be maybe this person's the demon, or maybe this person is. Like, keep it simple is what I'd say if you're starting out, especially if it's like your first time running Sex and Violets. Just be as absolutely brutally simple as possible. Don't worry about going, oh, but does this cancel out Vortox worlds? You figure all that out later. Like, honestly, you'll figure all that out later. And when they're poisoned, give them information. This is a fun thing I like doing. Give them information that's true, but completely unhelpful. That's fun. Thanks.
I think as well, it's worth keeping in mind that it's a good idea to tailor your savant information to the savant.
Yes.
Like, if you've got a super experienced player and a super experienced group, you can give really labyrinthine specific savant info. And actually that kind of info will generally be more useful because it can be very specific and tailored to the situation. If it's someone's first game of Sex and Violets, and they pulled the savant, give them simple stuff that they're going to understand. One of your neighbors is evil, or just simple shit that they've already seen from previous Trouble Brewing characters or whatever to ease them into it. Sorry, I need to stop swearing, don't I?
I don't know if that's a requirement.
Is that a requirement?
No one's told me.
G just shaking his head.
No?
It's fine.
Okay.
Cool. We got another role-specific question, which has been bumped up to the top. Posted 3 minutes ago, 5 people have liked it. I love the idea of the lunatic, but I've been unable to maintain the illusion past the first night. Do you have any tips for how to prolong the lunatic's belief without experimentals?
You don't have to. If the lunatic,
Well, that was helpful. Thanks, Maury.
If the lunatic discovers the other lunatic on night 2, that's fine. Yeah, controversial. It's totally fine. I killed a lunatic on night 2 earlier today. I gossip killed a lunatic. The lunatic knew they were a lunatic. It was fine. Evil team still won that game. It's fine. The lunatic ability, as far as I'm aware, isn't to be convinced they are the demon for the entire game. If that was the case, it would be much easier to do it. It's to cause confusion, like all outsiders do. Things you can do, though, is you can point them at a goon, always fun. Point them at people they are... It's a great thing. I've seen people go, I couldn't get the lunatic to work. I'm like, who did you give us their minions? Oh, their neighbours who they talk to immediately. I'm like, cool. Don't give them their neighbours. They'll talk to them immediately. But equally, like, if they find out the lunatic, great. Well done. Now they need to find the demons.
So I think to understand the role of the lunatic, you have to understand the way Blood on the Clocktower was intended to be played originally, when Steve was developing it in Australia, players didn't leave the circle. They would have a big circle because they've got big open spaces in Australia. They would have a great big circle like the width and breadth of this room. And they would stand up and whisper to people in the circle. And you wouldn't leave the circle, and they would whisper. They would just go up and be like, pss, 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 and then sit back down. And in that environment, it's much more difficult to immediately talk to all of your minions straight away on day one. And so lunatics would believe that they were the demon for longer because they might not even have a chance to communicate with their minions. And if they did, one of them might be a minion that played along, or they might just go up and be like, here's the bluffs, good luck, and then sit back down and leave that person bewildered and confused. And so that in that environment, the lunatic works. The reason we play Blood on the Clocktower the way we do is because when I started running it in the UK, all of our houses are really small. And so you can't have a big wide open circle in a terraced house in Derby. It's not possible. So I would be like, okay, well, let's use the space we've got. Feel free to have your private chats in the kitchen. Feel free to go out into the back garden for your private chats. And then because I ended up inadvertently teaching the game to so many people, that's just how everyone plays it now. But it was never originally intended to be played that way. And the lunatic is kind of a good example of that difference and like a relic of that earlier time. So yeah, I mean, and also what Morris said, you don't have to. It's an outsider. It will eventually figure out that it's a lunatic. It's a character that's not a townsfolk, so that in and of itself has done its job because it's not providing any help. Lunatics are always going to look dodgy. It's an easy thing to bluff. You're never. There's always a chance that the lunatic is a demon who erroneously believes they're a lunatic. So you're going to want to kill them anyway. If they get executed, that can screw with other things. The Godfather might get an extra kill, all that kind of stuff. So don't worry about it. You don't need to hoodwink the lunatic into believing they're the demon for the whole game. But I think we can all agree when it does happen, it's pretty cool.
If you're the demon who wants your lunatic to believe they're a lunatic, I recommend not talking to them ever. I did that recently. It was so much fun. Also, like, this is a big difference between playing in person and playing online. Online, the lunatic will probably be found out before the end of day one. In person, you'll probably have a bit. Also, here's another thing. If your lunatic is always finding out, make your first day shorter. Fun.
Lovely stuff. This is one of the ones that I was saying, which ties in nicely with like Dungeons and Dragons being a DM and being a storyteller. Do you have any tips for dealing with players who have disengaged mid-game, either from boredom or frustration or anything else?
I mean, it's a bit of a cop-out, but the solution to that is to pick up the pace and run pacey games. Like, I hear so many stories of people running 3.5 hour long games of Trouble Brewing, and it's like, what are you guys doing? There's a board game place near to me where my fiance goes to play Trouble Brewing, and their games always last 3.5 to 4 hours. Oh my god! And it's like, what are you doing? But the thing is, this like we're in this room being like, wow, how crazy. But the truth is, a lot of people are out there doing that because they think they've got to give they'll watch No Rolls Barred play it. It lasts 3.5 hours. That's how long the game lasts, guys, right? Never mind the fact that it doesn't run linearly, chronologically. But yeah, pick up the pace, run a pacey game. If your players are disengaging and getting bored, that's because you're not running the game fast enough. You shouldn't be given more than especially in the mid game, you shouldn't be given more than 4 or 5 minutes tops for the day phase. But I mean, also go and talk to your players. If they're looking like they're getting bored, that's because they're bored. And a good way to deal with boredom is to have a conversation with a human. So go up to them and be like, hey, how's it going? What do you think's happening? Are you optimistic about your chances of winning? Like anything like that will bring them back into the game, because if they're bored, it's just because no one's talking to them really half the time. So yeah, you deal with it the way you would deal with any other issue, talking to them.
100% agreed. I'm just going to always agree with Ben because he's very smart. But also,
I'm going to find a question that you don't agree on, I'm sure.
God, and we become mortal enemies.
How do you feel about the Battle of Bannockburn?
Honestly, I think there were good people on both sides.
They're all the same, them politicians.
What I was going to say is, exactly. Oh God, what Ben just said, talk to your players. My God, I love talking to my players. I will wander up and eavesdrop on a player, and then I'll just start chatting to them. I will do that. You're allowed to. The rules don't say I can't. It's a talking game. You can say whatever you want at any time. That's rule one.
Nothing that says a dog can't play basketball.
Exactly. If a dog wants to play Blood on the Clocktower, I'll let them. I won't. They're very bad at it. Equally, like there is mechanical things you can do. It is possible to, for instance, we mentioned Savant earlier. Hey, if somebody looks bored and they're disengaged, give the Savant some information about the person who is currently looking bored. So the Savant goes, hey, I have this information. Are you this? It's like, yes, I am that. Hooray. Also, when you're in the town square, obviously the focus is very often on the living players, making the nominations and making the defenses and all that. I sometimes will go, hey, just to double check, is there anybody who hasn't had a chance to speak who would like to speak right now? Cool. And then sometimes people go, oh, am I allowed to? It's like, yes, you can speak. Because most people who are disengaged are dead, right? That's the thing. And the one thing this game has over, Werewolf is death is not the end. Make that actively true in your game. Engage the people who are dead. Or sometimes it'll be because they're a butler and they're bored. There's nothing you can do about that. They're the butler. That's their lot in life. But they can still make social claims. They can still talk socially. They can still talk through things. Talk to them. Talk to them is such God. That's an incredible piece of advice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
God, I'm so excited.
Good stuff. How do you effectively challenge group metas? E.g., thinking someone is always evil, so always executing them first, or if someone always dies early in the game, if they're still alive, they must be evil.
Punish them. I'm only half joking. If people are like, oh, this person's always evil, like there's a person who's always the demon in my group. How many times do you think I've saved her with the pacifist? Because it's a lot. I'll do it. If you're gonna execute them on day one, I'm gonna save them on day one, and then until you stop. Also, it's gonna happen. People, we are community-minded creatures. We love patterns. People love patterns. Neurodivergent people love patterns. Neurodivergent people love Blood on the Clocktower. I speak from experience. We're going to see patterns of things. We're going to want to play to them. But equally, the most important thing you can do is, if somebody's starting to get kind of like annoyed about it, just say to your group, hey, can we not kill Ro first? Because we've done that the past 7 games and it hasn't won you the game. Please stop doing it. I did that. I literally said that once. I literally went. I went as far as to angel protect them. They were the demon.
But that's your prerogative as the storyteller.
Yeah, I think unless a group meta has gotten to a point where you would consider it bullying or toxic or something like that, I think a lot of people think that meta is bad.
Yeah.
It's not. It's so useful. Like a group meta is a thing in your toolbox as a storyteller. If people expect something, then that means you can subvert their expectations. You can give them their expectations. All of those options open multiple paths to awesome and interesting things for you. Ultimately, we are storytellers, right? We're telling a story, and the meta of that story is what we use to make a story compelling. So the group metas are good. If the meta is this person's always evil, then great. Like Morris said, have them survive execution via the pacifist over and over again. Never make them drunk when the sailor picks them. Things like that. Because ultimately, if you want to change a meta, you do it by subverting it. Yeah. And eventually, that always evil person will be the always survives because of the pacifist, because they're always a townsfolk person. And then when that becomes the meta, you go back to making them evil, and then back and forth forever until we all die in the heat death of the universe.
Agreed.
Lovely stuff. This ties in with something we had in the panel this morning for new players. How do you best support players who are nervous or anxious about being evil?
Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've done your storytelling duty and you've run Trouble Brewing for this new player. If you haven't, then you don't get any advice from me, because you don't deserve it. So there's some key things that I always say to brand new players, and it's really important you make them aware of these things. Thing number one, you can come talk to me at any time. It is not suspicious to need to talk to the storyteller. I really can't stress this enough. Please don't sit there confused. Just come talk to me. And I've literally just said it exactly how I say it to the players. Yeah. I've just realised my foot is now cramping up. Ow. Hang on a sec. Oh, fuck, this is really challenging. I'm in a lot of pain. No, I'm going to make it through this.
It's going to be immortalised forever on the internet as well.
Why? Stop! Thing number two. Remind players that there is nothing they can do that will lose the game for their team. Yeah. We know that that's not true, but only when you get to characters like Damsel and Heretic and stuff like that. Yeah. In a game of Trouble Brewing, there is nothing one player can do that will lose the game for their team. It's always a team effort. Even if you're the imp, there's still a minion out there that you can pass to. There's a minion out there that's doing stuff. There is literally 9 times out of 10 I find when new players are nervous, it's because they're terrified that they're going to say or do the wrong thing and that it's going to lead to their team losing and they're going to look terrible because it's their fault. That's impossible, and you must reiterate that to them over and over again. Check in with them. Go and see how they're doing. Ask them if they're having fun. Ask them if they want any help or advice, all that kind of stuff. Make them feel like they're safe, like you've got their back, like you're there, you're going to help them. And ultimately, if you do those 3 things, they should be fine. There will still be times when they're just so nervous that they're inevitably going to have a bad time. I had one guy who was like, I hate social deduction games. I hate lying. I've never lied to anyone. It makes me really nervous. And I'm like, oh, maybe you shouldn't play. And he's like, no, I'll give it a go. And I'm like, oh, pulls the Scarlet Woman, and he just sits there for the whole game like this, like he's got pneumonia. Obviously, the imp dies in about 5 minutes, and he's just like on the verge of vomiting for the whole thing. He was beyond help. There's nothing that you can do in that situation. But 9 times out of 10, if you just say those simple things, come talk to me if you need me. There's nothing you can do that's going to lose the game for your team, and just check in with them to make sure they're okay. That will solve that problem pretty easily.
Yeah. Again, I agree. When Ben says, well, come and talk to me, if somebody is very nervous and very new and very, has no idea what to do, I have on occasion went, maybe you should kill one of these people. I don't know, do they seem powerful to you? And they go, yeah, they do seem powerful to me. And I go, cool, that's because they're the fortune teller, you should kill them. I stopped short of outright giving them information they shouldn't know, but I'm like, what do you think's going on? I'll talk through stuff with them. Also, play to the experience level and the sort of nerves of that person. Give them solid bluffs that will be simple. Give them a soldier, then that's simple, right? They could just go, hey, I didn't die. Great, well done. Well done, bud. And also, remind them as well, and I say this all the time, it's the same thing that Ben said earlier, and the same thing I said earlier, it's fine. It's all going to be fine. We're all here to have fun. We're all playing a game. Even if you do lose as evil.
Who cares?
Who cares? Honestly, that just means you get to play again. And maybe you'll be evil and you'll do better. Or maybe you'll be good and you'll love it. Remind people that it's okay to be stressed. It's kind of fun to be stressed. I often say to people, and actually this is an important thing, I say this because I teach improv classes as well, and there's a lot of nervous people go, I don't want to be on stage. And I'm like, there is such a small difference between nerves and excitement. And if you can somehow flip that switch in your head and be excited to be evil, whoa, that changes everything. I'm always excited to be evil. Please make me evil in all of your games. Thank you.
Another role-specific question. When putting a drunk in, do you predetermine the role which will be drunk, or do you choose it in the moment, and how do you come to that decision?
Usually when I'm going to put a drunk in, I'll have an idea of who I want to be the drunk before I build the bag. I'll then look at the town square as it lies, and about half the time I'll stick with what I was going to do, and about the other half the time I'll change my mind and pick something else. It doesn't matter. there are people out there who are like, you must make one decision immediately and stick to it regardless of how miserable it will make everybody. That's dumb. Don't do that. Again, it comes back to Storyteller. We're here to provide a fun narrative experience, and you don't do that by sticking rigidly. If you're the author of a novel and you decide that this character is going to die in the third act, and then you get to the third act and realize that this character is really compelling and would make for a great twist villain or something at the end, you're not going to go, but 4 weeks ago I decided they were going to die, so I'm going to write a shit book. That's not how that works.
Can I ask, but what if you're the very often Vice and you're writing the last season of Game of Thrones?
I actually thought the last season of Game of Thrones was fine. Just putting that out there.
That's what we disagree on.
Honestly.
That's what we disagree.
Look at this motherfucker zooming in on me. What are you doing that for? Do it, zoom. I thought the last series of Game of Thrones was all right. It was fine. Yeah, it wasn't that bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like the best series. It's the worst series in the series. But I think everyone blew that out of proportion. And that's why you should wait and choose to see who the drunk will be.
I'm going to say something that I don't think should be controversial. I think I have predetermined the drunk maybe 4 games I've ever run, and that's been when they mechanically have to be drunk. For instance, an atheist, I'm going to make them the drunk because they have to be, or something like that. I will 99.99999% of the time decide in the moment when I'm setting up. That's true of nearly everything I set up. I get the token set up. I don't go, I'm going to show the washerwoman this, and I go, oh, maybe I shouldn't show the washerwoman this. I just don't decide until I see the Grim. Until I see how everyone's setting. Because also, it can depend on who's got the token. I know I've got a player who I know who hates being the drunk so much. So I'll often make him drunk.
And that's how you build a group meta.
Yeah. I just decide in the moment. That's how I always do.
Okay, I've got another nice, uncontroversial question here. What is your least favorite Blood on the Clocktower character? Character, not player. That's an important distinction.
Do you have an immediate answer?
Well, yeah. I mean, I just mathematician. I find it scares me. I don't understand it. I feel like I'm doing something wrong all the time. I feel like I'm in an exam and the time's ticking. Oh no, the night phase has gone on way too long while I try and understand this stupid character. And when I am the mathematician, it's that, but also admin. So I don't care for it, but I understand why the kind of people who are super into the puzzle element of the game love mathematician. I'm not. I'm a social guy, so I don't care for mathematician, but I understand its place.
Well, as a storyteller, I'm not a huge fan of Zombo specifically, but also to a lesser extent, Little Monster and Yagababble. I really struggle with any character where I feel like the player just doesn't get to do anything. Yagababble is different because obviously you get to do something. Little Monster, because you got your menu ability. Zombo, the amount of times I've had a Zombo game where the Zombo is literally, it's like, I have woken them up to show them their minions. Yep. Then nothing else happens, and then they die, and the game is over. I like roles where people get to do stuff. So there's a couple of roles where I'll still play with them, I'll still put them in, but like, I'm someone who really loves the social part of this game, which is the same thing I'm saying. So I love roles that let people talk to each other, and the roles where it's just like you don't get to do anything. I understand why they're in the game mechanically, and I will put them in, but they're not my favorite to storytell for because I feel bad for them.
See, we found something we disagree on. Yay! There we go. Yeah, I actually think that Zomboul is one of the most consistently poorly run characters out there, and I think it has this reputation for exactly what you've just said. It's boring, it takes ages, it doesn't do anything. But I think that's come from the erroneous belief that the way to run a Zomboul game is to put lots of stuff in that causes extra death at night, and none of the stuff in that causes people to survive execution. And half of that is correct, but the other half of it isn't. And actually, I ran a Zomball game that these two were in last weekend in Worthing that was a 19-player BMR that lasted less than 90 minutes. Wow. And the way you make that work is you put loads of characters in the bag that cause people to survive execution. Yeah. Because then, when someone survives execution, which they will do a lot, then the Zomball gets to do something. Yeah. And that's how you do a Zomball game where the Zomball feels like they've actually got some agency.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense.
There you go. Thank you for confirming that. You could have just been like, it was really shit.
I take back what I said. Ben's correct. The Zombie was great.
Oh, now I feel bad.
I think that's correct. I think it's just I've had some very bad experiences with it. Similarly, Minstrel. I've got Minstrel and Professor. BMR is my favorite script, and I've just named 3 roles that are on that. I don't. Okay. I struggle with roles where there's a correct thing to do as a storyteller, or as a thing. So, like Professor, I really struggle with running it because I feel bad for the person because they're like, well, I just simply have to resurrect the first person who's killed. I just like the roles that make for more interesting plays in my head. That's all it is. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No further questions. Actually, no. Yeah, sorry, further questions.
No further questions. Wow.
Further questions.
But Mara's in charge here.
Case closed. We are at 3, but we did start late, so we'll run a little bit longer. If anyone does need to run off, it's fine, but I think we've got a little bit of a buffer between.
Mara's permission first, though.
Yeah.
No further questions from you.
But we'll do a few more questions. A couple of questions that tie in together here. One is, do you prefer playing in person or online, and why? And then tying into that as well, someone said, I've got almost 100 games as Storyteller online, but 0 in person. Any tips in the differences I should be considering when trying to move to in-person games? So which do you prefer, and what do you think are the differences that the Storyteller needs to consider?
I vastly prefer in person for a bunch of reasons, and I imagine most of you will probably vibe with them. First of all, can't beat being in a room with other humans. It's just better, I think. And I imagine all of you have come here because you, at least to some degree, agree with that. There is stuff that you can do in person that you just can't get away with online as well. Little subtle, you can have a conversation with someone without there being any clear evidence of it. Like if you whisper to your neighbor online on the official app, a little envelope goes across, but you can, on day one, in a game, as the imp, just nudge your neighbor and be like, oh, you're the librarian you saw Saint, I'm one of them. And then Mara's like, I want to talk to you and you. And then we go off for a conversation, and look at that. We've suddenly built a narrative, and nobody saw it happen. Cool little things like that, and there's a million of them that you can do in person, is why I vastly prefer in person. Well, I don't vastly prefer in person, but it is better in my opinion. And it's the way the game was intended to be played. I would also point out that there are characters that just don't work online. Yeah. The matron, one of my favorite travelers, does not work online. You just can't do it. Like it doesn't function the way it's intended to. You can't simulate a room full of people who can sort of kind of talk to each other, but not really. That's not how, just can't do it. There are upcoming unreleased characters that I am very dubious about whether or not we're ever going to be able to get them to work online. Yeah. Because they're designed with in-person in mind, and getting them to work online would require us to involve things like random number generation, and all of a sudden it all gets a bit video gamey.
I know what role that is.
Oh, do you?
I had a long chat with Stephen.
So yeah, there's, that's why I prefer in person. If you're moving from online to in person, honestly, it's not that different. The only thing that you're going to need to remember is that the web app does a lot of stuff for you that obviously the box is not going to do for you. You need to manage your own night tokens, your own reminders. You need to very carefully manage your grimoire and make sure you stay on top of it, because if you don't, things will very quickly go awry and get out of control and run away from you. But other than that, if you've done it online, you know what you're doing. You'll be fine.
I vastly prefer running in person than running online for the same reasons that Ben said. We're back on the same page. It's good. Feels good.
I actually hate running in person.
I also love running online. That's how I first started. And the only other thing I add to Ben is voting is different in person than it is online. The app does all of the voting stuff for you. as a storyteller, I find it's hugely, hugely beneficial to me and to my players to outright say, hey, there's this many votes, you need this many, this, and then count and say, that's enough as I'm going around. Like literally anything you can do to make it clear what's going on, especially for people who are used to playing online where it's all just in front of you. Just clarify. Don't like obfuscate stuff that is just common knowledge. It's like you need this many. Cool, good, and be very clear. I'm somebody who has a lot of auditory processing issues, which means in person is better than for me generally because I can see people's faces, great, at all times. But also it means I do say, hey, when other people are talking, listen, which is, there's no lag, is what I'm saying. So just make it sort of like making everything clear and making sure everyone knows what's going on. Hopefully making sure that people have access to, the town square thing that is provided in the game. If they can't see it, regularly check in to go, hey, you can put your hands up if you're alive, simple stuff like that. That helps everybody. We'll just make that transition from online to in-person much easier.
Don't be afraid to rope your players into helping you manage. Thank you. It's helping you manage things as well.
Yeah.
Like it says in the rulebook, the players are responsible for managing their life tokens and their vote tokens. I know a lot of storytellers will just flip it and manage it themselves because it's easier or simpler or whatever. But you will eventually get to a point where you need those players to do it, especially if you are running things like Matron, where you've got enough on your plate. All they've got to do is manage their life and vote tokens and know when they're allowed to vote and not. That's not a lot to ask of your players.
Okay, I'm going to do 2 more questions, I think, just for timing and letting people get away. The second last question I'm going to ask, how do you strike a balance between making a game balanced and making a game fun for everyone? And is balance sometimes the enemy of fun?
Oh, that's a good one. Who wrote that? Who asked that? That's a good one. Well done, yeah, jolly good. Okay, well, I think to some degree, balance is fun.
Yeah.
Right? None of us want to play a game where one side kicks the shit out of the other side. That's not really a fun narrative for either side, really. But you don't want to balance the agency out of the game. There are inevitably going to be some times where one side is just doing really, really silly things or making really, really poor decisions. And at some point you have to say, this is what these guys want. Let them have it. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter that I think it's bad and they're going to lose. This is what they've chosen. This is the path they've chosen, and we should just let them do that. But it's always a good idea to strive to get to Final 3. If you go on Reddit and ask this question, people will be like, storytellers should never do anything. They shouldn't even turn up to the game. That's how little influence they should have. That's nonsense. And that comes from the kind of hyper-competitive attitude that you tend to find in really sort of hardcore online gaming communities. You should be striving to get the game to a Final 3 situation. If you've managed to do that, you've done your job. If you've had to nerf evil a little bit in order to get there, that's fine. But ultimately, if you're in a situation where one team is just making all the wrong decisions, just let them make the wrong decisions. The game will end and you'll get to start again. And it's also really important to remember, and I don't think this gets said enough, you can't improve until you make mistakes. Yeah. Let people make mistakes. Let them shit the bed, and then they won't shit the bed again next time. And ultimately, you then won't be in a situation like that again where you have to wipe their bum or feel like you have to. This analogy is getting a bit out of control. Poo, 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 smelly poo. Thank you.
Always remember that, like, you're balancing the game. You have all of the information. So you're making decisions that are like, oh, this is balancing the game. And then after the game, people went, that was really harsh. And I went, I genuinely thought if I didn't do that, you were going to lose on the next day. I genuinely thought that. I'm not doing this just to mess with you. I thought it would be more fun to extend the game. I ran a game of BMR today that ended up with 6 evil players. I don't regret it. One of them was an apprentice because I thought they were going to execute the demon on day 2. The fact that they then didn't is not my fault. I made the decision I made when I made it with the information available to me, which is information that the players don't have. The amount of times I've had players go, well, that was incredibly unfair, and I went, okay, let's roll back to the situation that I'll show you, and then look at it, and then people go, oh, actually, yeah, do that. This could make sense. I went, yeah, right. I didn't know that the next thing that would happen was that the apprentice devil's advocate was going to pick the goon who was then turned evil, and then the demon was going to kill them, which is what happened earlier today. I couldn't possibly have known that was going to happen. Equally, I think nobody finds it fun to just outright lose a game without any agency. It's a thing that you run into in some custom scripts, and sometimes on like Sex and Violence with certain setups, where like, oh, the game is just solved. Cool. Well done. Let's mechanically move on from this game and play a more fun social deduction game, which is so based.
And what is this more fun social deduction game, Mara?
It's Blood on the Clocktower, but with more socials.
I would have gone with Cheese Thief.
Cheese Thief is pretty great. Sometimes a game will just be a route, and that's fine. You can move on. But if you can, in any way, put your thumb on a scale just a little bit to make it not a route, I think that's what we should be doing. Is that controversial?
I mean, it's literally what makes this game different to its stablemates, right? This is why it always confuses me when people are like, the storyteller should be a referee and nothing else. It's like, well, just play werewolf then. That's how that works. Like, the thing that makes this game compelling is all the fascinating little interactions that only exist because there is an adjudicator facilitating them. If you don't like that, then why are you here? I genuinely don't get it. It's like going to a curry house and then saying, I hate Indian food, but I must shovel it in relentlessly nevertheless. Just go somewhere else.
I'm going to sneak in one tiny mini question before the final question, which is, have you ever dropped the Grim?
There was one day where I sort of stripped. It was not my Grim, and it slipped, and I smashed it into my face during the night. I then tried to panic and pick everything back up. While my players woke up and went, the demon who was awake at the time went, no. we are re-racking, and also you're going to go and have a sit down because you just hit yourself in the face with a heavy book. So in answer to the question, yes.
I've genuinely never dropped the Grim. I don't.
Why
is that a boo? What do you want me to do? Yeah, I throw it around all the time for some reason. No, I've genuinely never dropped my grimoire. I've had people knock it over.
Yeah.
I've had people walk into it. I've had people spill beer on it. I've even bled on it once. Wow. I cut my ear and bled on the Grim. But I've never dropped it.
I bet that Grim is worth a lot of money now.
It literally, I've got it, and it still has my blood on it. It's a prototype grimoire. Maybe one day we'll auction it. Yeah.
Right now. No.
We can't auction it on eBay. You're not allowed to auction bodily fluids.
We'll do it now. Okay, the actual last question. Absolute classic. If you could give one tip for maybe a beginner storyteller or someone who's been storytelling for a little while, what would be your number one storytelling tip that people should take away from this panel?
We've gone over a lot of them. We've gone over a lot of them. But I think if I am only allowed to say one thing to a storyteller, I would like it to be, have fun. Everyone will have fun with you. I would like it to be, some mechanical thing. But I think the most important thing for new storytellers is take all the time you need. Don't rush. Take as long as you want in the night phase. Make sure you've got everything. Check, double check, and triple check. Your players aren't going to care if you're slow. They're expecting you to be slow. It's your first time. They're only going to care if you make a mistake that you can't walk back, because then the game is over and then you've got to re-rack. And that's not the end of the world either, but it can be avoided by just taking as much time as you need in that night phase.
I mean, that's objectively the correct answer. But I was going to say the same thing. Take your time. Nobody's ever going to go, I loved that game, but the night phase was 1 minute longer than I wanted it to be, and now I'm late for work. Why are you playing Blood On The Clocktower before work?
6 a.m. pickup game. Yeah.
But if I had another thing, it would be remember that you are playing a game with a group of people. Like, that seems like an insane thing to say, but remember that. If at some point you're like going, I'm not having fun storytelling anymore, stop storytelling for a bit. If you're first starting out and you're like, how can I make this fun for people? You've probably played games with the people you're playing with before. What do they like? Do they like really complicated, there's so many things to deduce? Put a lot of those roles in. They'll like it.
And if you don't know the answer to that, just ask them.
Yeah. Hey, do you think it would be fun to have it play a Zombie game? Yeah, cool. Put a Zombie in.
What do you like?
Yeah. Just like storytell for the people for your players. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Like, don't go online and watch us play online and go, they're doing these cool things. I should do these cool things. We're idiots. Don't listen to us.
Yeah. We are. And also, I'm glad you've said that, because that leads on to a really good point. At least once a week on the subreddit, someone will come on and go, guys, I've ran 2 games of Trouble Brewing for my group and they won't stand up and go for private chats. Or guys, I've run 2 games of Trouble Brewing for my group and the demon and the minion won't talk to each other. Little things like this where if you consume like 500 hours of online content and see all these high-level players doing all this stuff and you think, oh great, that's cool, they get to have private chats, that's interesting, and then you run the game for your own players and they don't do that, your instinct is to be like, well, my players aren't doing it right and I must force them to do it right. Don't. They'll figure it out eventually. They'll get there eventually. You can always nudge them and say things like, hey, don't forget, guys, there's one player here who's listening real hard to find out who the most valuable good player is to kill, and that's why private chats can be really useful. You can give them nudges and stuff like that, but don't panic if they're not playing the game the way that you've seen No Rolls Barred or Mara or whatever play the game. It's not the end of the world. They'll get there eventually. That's not one tip, though, is it? That's several tips.
Well, I love ending an hour-long advice panel with saying, "Don't listen to us, we're idiots." So I think that's a good point to stop. Thanks everyone so much for coming. Sorry if we didn't get to your questions, and thank you to our panelists.